The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you August 6th, 2024. Can you believe we're already 6 days in August? Isn't that crazy? There I am. Hi, guys. A lot to get to today. Well, you know, another podcast here. Feeling good right now. I had my a little behind the curtain before we get started on the topics we have in mind. Because I'm sure you're going to see the title of the episode here. And you'll see why in a second. But last night, I had my first date night with my wife without the kids in quite a while. You know, I said a year, but she was saying probably longer than that. Yeah, we don't have time to really go out, our schedules and everything that we do as a family. So we don't have a lot of time like this together. We're away from the kids. But what was cool is my brother and my sister-in-law, they have two daughters. I mean, like I said, I've been saying on the podcast, we've been watching them all summer while they're at work. Which comes to end this week because school starts next week. Well, the new Deadpool movie came out. Wolverine came out a few days ago, about a week and a half ago. And my wife did see it opening night, but she went with her best friend. But I really wanted to see it too. So what happened, and apparently my brother also wanted to see it. My brother's a big fan too, wanted to see the movie with his wife too. So what we did this weekend is that we decided to say, okay, this is what we'll do. You bring the girls over our house on Saturday. You guys have your date night. And they were out for like 6-7 hours to go to dinner and a movie. So Saturday night during SummerSlam, we allowed them to go to do their date, and we'll watch the girls. In exchange, yesterday, my brother and my sister-in-law took my sons, and they watched them for the night, while my wife and I went to do dinner and a movie as well too. Now we went a little earlier because we went to Hibachi. Got a Hibachi, steakhouse. Phenomenal time. Lots of money, but hey, it's worth it. We had a phenomenal time. Her and I spent a long time together. They went to the movies, and first of all, the movie was fantastic. The movie was fantastic. Let's just put it that way. But we had that, and so I came home. It came home early enough still to put them in bed. Came home about 9:30, which is not too late for us considering. So still able to come home, put the kids to sleep, watch a couple episodes of West Wing, which we're now on season 2. Love that show, by the way. Love that show. Never finished it. Like I said, I intend to finish this show finally for the first time. So we had a great time last night in each other's company. Yes, we still love each other. And as I say, guys, even if you're married, you still date your spouse. So, yeah, that's just that. We had a great time. Like I said, it's worth it. Hopefully, my goal is to try to do these date nights at least once a month, once every 2 months if we can. I know it's hard because of schedules and all that, but you need time. And look, your family's important and all that, but you need time alone with your spouse. You still need to date your spouse. Keep things fresh, keep things spicy. Obviously, you do that. And look, I'm just saying it's good. Look, I'm in a very good marriage. And I'm not saying that we obviously get done better with the dates, doing more date night stuff as a couple, but I'm in a good marriage. We're 18 years in together, 13 married. I'm a good example to follow. So take my advice on that one. Anyway, lots to get to here today. Like I said, we'll talk a little Donald Trump in a second. The Olympics, of course, and minor controversy. Skip Bayless out FS1, and then we're going to read out some of the QOTW question of the week responses we got last week on the show. But we did get breaking news before coming on here today. We're recording this in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. We get breaking news about an hour and a half ago. Kamala Harris has made her decision on who will be her vice presidential running mate, and it is not Josh Shapiro, as I thought it would be. It is Tim Walz, actually, of the governor of Minnesota, the guy that I actually wanted her to pick, but I didn't think that she would go this route. I thought she would go more, I hate to say it, corporate route, something more safe pick. You know, Josh Shapiro does have some a little bit of baggage that came into this possibility if he came into the campaign. Tim Walz is someone I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. I've been very, very positive about and learning about him in the last couple months, especially. Doing a lot of good stuff there, especially if you're progressive, if you like this too, especially too. There's a lot of progressive things in the state of Minnesota. He's progressive on things I care about. Like I'm not a full blown whore progressive to where I want everything and on that side. But he's progressive on a lot of things I care about. For example, free school lunches for kids, lunch and breakfast. For example, parent leave, paid parent leave, 3 months. A lot of other things. There's a list of things here that he's done for the state of Minnesota, and doing it with only a 1-seat majority in the state legislature. I'm a big fan of Tim Walz for what I've been learning about him. And like I said, I think he's someone that he comes off as someone that's just very down to earth, middle America, blue collar, and someone that the Democrats, in my opinion, need to be one of the faces of the party going forward. I've said for years, the Democratic Party, one of the problems they've had, in my opinion, on optics is that they've cared less about the middle class, cared less about middle America, and cared more to the elites on the coastal elites, for that matter. And that is why Donald Trump, while still being a coastal elite, did have appeal because of the rhetoric and how he spoke to people. That's how Donald Trump got a lane. People will say that Donald Trump is this Republican. He caters to the evangelicals and yes, he does because of the policies that he is obviously promising to overturn Roe v. Wade, and he did that. So evangelicals now love him because of what he's proven in his first 4 years. But at the same time, he does have an appeal to the middle moderate because of how he speaks to people. Now, whether or not you actually agree with him on policy, whatever, that's a whole other thing. But in terms of optics, yes, that word again, optics, I love it. He does have appeal to the simple people, typical middle Americans who are just trying to pay their bills, live their lives. He does have the way he speaks to them. There's an appeal there. I'm not defending it. This is just reality, and I can say that because this is now his third time running for president now. Okay, and so clearly people do like him. He does have a ceiling though. But Tim Walz, and I'm going to Trump in a second. Tim Walz, though, you watch him on interviews on countless stations, where it's CNN or MSNBC or whatever it may be. He does come off as someone who's very much a middle America, a little bit of a libertarian bent to some degree, but very progressive and is not embarrassed to, and wears it proudly. He understands. He's also comes off as a unifier too. I like the pick. I was very concerned that Kamala Harris will pick somebody else. Josh Shapiro, who I do like Josh Shapiro, but Josh Shapiro looks last couple of days, watching some of his speeches recently too, sounds kind of Obama-ish a little bit in the rhetoric, which, by the way, okay, whatever. But it's kind of a weird thing, to sound like a clone of Barack Obama. But also, Josh Shapiro also had a lot of pitfalls too. Also, mainly the situation where he was very critical of pro-Palestine protesters and was comparing them to the KKK. Now, that's a problem because if Josh Shapiro were to be on the ticket, there's a possibility that he can create voter apathy, and you don't want that. I think Kamala Harris made a calculation here that we can have a situation where, especially in Michigan, where a state they definitely need to win, one of the three blue wall states they need to win, that voter apathy could be a thing if those voters believe that she put on a ticket could alienate voters from voting for her, not necessarily voting for Trump, but people staying home in general or voting for their party. That could be a situation. That could have been a problem. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, they took the route of a more, which I would say right now on optics, progressive ticket. I thought they picked Josh Shapiro solely because of the fact that Pennsylvania is the be all end all of this election. Like the Democrats have no shot in winning this election without winning Pennsylvania, unless they find a way to flip 2 other states on the Sun Belt, which is still, in my opinion, based on the polling. Now, polling has improved for Kamala Harris. Like, this race is virtually a tie. This polling came out yesterday that said that she's actually leading the race right now. Now, the Electoral College could be something different because Electoral College, based in the states right now, Trump may have a slight lead still. So this race is definitely reset since Joe Biden's left the race. But with a race so razor thin right now, and it's probably going to be this way going forward, and we know this is the Kamala honeymoon period for the time being. You know what I mean? This is going to be a razor thin race. And you have to make a decision that's going to put you over the top and not hold you back. We'll get to Trump in a second, especially too, because this is going to, part of what's happened with Kamala Harris, there's a surge of Kamala Harris with also this Tim Walz pick, which should fire up progressive. I think this Walz pick will shore up the far left now to come into the coalition, which should help obviously the Democrats going forward. But when you combine that now, and look at Trump now, but the mistakes Trump is making, why have the polls shifted? Well, for starters, it's the start. Let's just call for what it is. People are fired up about Kamala Harris now because Joe Biden's gone. It's something to do with Kamala Harris also too, and what she brings to the ticket. But it's also that the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden had to go. The polling showed prior to June, was it June 18th or whatever? What day was it that the Biden left the race? So the 18th, I think it was, June or July rather. That Biden was down 3 points, lower 3 points nationally. He was down in some swing states, PA, Wisconsin, Michigan. Wasn't polling well there. So all that, the narratives there was Joe Biden can't win this race. So he put in Kamala, and obviously that came in. But a large part of why the polling is flipped is 2 ways. Yes, Kamala being in the race helps, obviously, number one, energizes the Democrat base. But Donald Trump is making some massive mistakes of late on his campaign. And this is shocking because I've been, I won't say praising him, but I've been praising him because of the fact that prior to Kamala entering the race as the head of the ticket for Democrats, Donald Trump has actually ran, now by his standards, of course. Now remember, this is Donald Trump we're talking about here, but by his standards, he's actually run a fairly clean campaign. He's been, of the 3 campaigns he's ran in 2016 and 2020, up to this point, he was, up to 2 weeks ago rather, he ran a very disciplined campaign by his standards. He was very much, for example, on women's rights, for example, he was saying he's against a federal, even though he was responsible for Roe v. Wade getting overturned by the Pixie Man in the Supreme Court. He also has said on record that he's against a federal ban. Leave it to the states. How people may feel about that. That's how you feel. I'm just saying that that's his position on that. Leave it to the states. He's also fairly moderate on the abortion stance. Was it 15 weeks, 16 weeks? Some people are more right on. Hell, I at one point, I'm probably still am right now, but I'm open-ended right now. I was 12 weeks on abortion, but that's just my opinion. So Trump has actually ran a very fairly disciplined campaign up to this point. Now it's gone to shit a little bit now, and the polling is showing that too. On top of that, now again, people say, well, the polls don't mean anything. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Polling does is information. You use that for what it is. And it started here with number one, the reaction of Kamala Harris because of how they're attacking Kamala Harris and using the race thing and all that. And I think that's a colossal mistake to start attacking Kamala's race. And even if she's comes off unauthentic, I get all that. But this is not Hillary Clinton. You can't use the same game plan with Hillary Clinton with Kamala Harris. Okay, it's a massive mistake on the Trump campaign. Then I did say that the VP pick for Trump isn't going to change the race for Trump. I think people are locked on Trump no matter what. People who love Trump are locked on Trump no matter what. What I didn't account for was the pick hurting the ticket. J.D. Vance, so far being his running mate 2.5 weeks in, seems to be hurting his ticket. Some of the comments he's made in the past, that's coming out to light again in this campaign. It's starting to make him look bad, with independents. Not necessarily with people who vote for Trump, but people who are independents, all that, are starting to see some of the things that has been said in the past. Doesn't look good. I'll say what it is. J.D. Vance has been a disaster so far. He was a wrong pick. And to boot, allegedly, this wasn't even his pick. Supposedly, Trump wanted Doug Burgum to be the running mate for him. But it was Tucker Carlson, it was Elon Musk, and mainly Don Jr. and Eric Trump. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump vouched for J.D. Vance to be the running mate. Let's start here first, Trump. I know your political instincts are average at best, in my opinion. Why in the fuck would you listen to your kids? Your kids aren't that smart. Okay? First off, the fact you listen to Eric and Don for advice on the direction of your campaign is a problem. Okay? They don't know what they're talking about. Okay? They don't know what they're talking about. Stop. So that was a mistake in itself. Okay? The guy, number one, while he wasn't elected senator in Ohio, he massively underperformed and only got over the hump because of Trump. I would have said, look, if I was Republican still, I would have said, and people probably will say this is a wrong move to go because he's come on a rhino, but I would have gone with Marco Rubio. He has an appeal. You know what I'm saying? And then Trump now also at the NABJ last week, at the National American Black Journalists Conference last week. I gave him credit for showing up. First off, the fact he showed up, I give him credit for that. Because people will say that's like enemy territory. Again, people can vote how they want to vote. Obviously, whatever me. But most people, you agree, most people in that camp are not Trump supporters. But so the fact that Trump even showed up was actually a good thing for him. But he missed an opportunity. Okay, he was doing word salad over the place on the thing. And again, I'm saying this because I watched the entire damn thing. I watched the entire 35 minutes of the conference. Okay, because when we heard the reports about the conference last week, and the media, gaslighting him, I'm like, maybe being a little unfair to Trump here, because they can. I'll watch it myself, and I watch it for myself, and this is based on my assessment. He dropped the ball. He couldn't answer questions directly. He was given layup questions. On the case of police immunity, for example, his answer on that was disappointing at best, terrible at worst. Things of that nature, and then being very rude. To the people on the stage. It is who he is. That's how he talks, and I get that. So it's authentic to who he is. But if you're trying to win those voters over, you need to do more. You need to be more direct, and direct with responses in terms of staying on topic. So again, he was disappointing there. And then, the worst one of all was him in Georgia, campaigning in Georgia, Atlanta this past Saturday with his supporters, and he was very critical of Brian Kemp, Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Check this out. Flip it quick.
Not a fan of your governor. Donald Trump started slowly, but then spent almost 6 straight minutes bad-mouthing Republican Brian Kemp. Kemp won 2 elections in Georgia, and unlike Trump, polls show he has substantial bipartisan approval.
Kemp is very bad for the Republican Party. He wouldn't do anything.
Trump is talking about Kemp's refusal to call what Kemp said would have been an illegal special session of the legislature to try to overturn the 2020 election vote in Georgia. Republican former state senator P.K. Martin wrote on X, a good way to lose a swing state is to attack that state's most popular elected leader.
Makes no sense at all. Makes no sense at all.
Republican State Representative Lauren Daniel wrote, Donald Trump claiming Governor Kemp is bad for the Republican Party is the most out-of-touch thing he could have possibly said. And an ex-user called 3-Year Letterman wrote, even my Uncle Gary, 3 cases of Natty Light deep isn't stupid.
Yeah. And my thing is what's so silly about this is that Brian Kemp is massively popular in Georgia, but bipartisan. I think his approval rating is in the mid-60s, in fact. And he's actually doing better with his state than you are as president in terms of popularity. He's more popular than you are. So why would you go and criticize a guy who may actually campaign for you actually now? Who may campaign for you to help you win a state that now, if the polling is correct on this, is razor thin again. Trump was up by 3 or 4 points when Biden was in the race. And the polls have shifted ever since Kamala came in the race to where now it's considered a toss-up now. And now, with a razor-thin edge, you're doing this to the most popular executive in that state. That's not smart. See, Trump has really, really, in my opinion, I'm sorry, he has very bad political instincts. He does. He gets too emotional about things. And again, get off the election denial. Get off the 2020 election. Get off of that now. Get off of that. You know, he would do himself a goodwill if he'd finally say, you know, I lost the election 2020. If he admits he lost the election 2020, all this extra shit wouldn't be around. But all these things hang over him because he decides he doesn't want to do that. Oh, I was cheated. It was rigged. Really? This is why you won't poll. This is why you won't poll more than 45% of the electorate, because even though there's people who may vote for you because they agree with some of your policies, you just sound fucking unhinged. You sound unhinged. Like, what are you doing? And that's why I feel like, is he actually sabotaging his own election now? Because the last 16 days, it kind of feels that way. Between J.D. Vance pick, between the appearance at the NABJ, between criticizing Kemp, you know, Brian Kemp, making the comments on Kamala. Like, what are you doing? And again, you ran up until 16 days ago. You were running a very clean, by your standards, by the way, for the record, a very, very disciplined campaign. You almost got murdered and survived that. And you didn't get as big a bump as I thought you would, but you got a little bit of a bump. And all that's gone now because you're in your feelings. You're in your feelings. I don't know, man. It feels like a sabotage. And it's his fault because he's the one doing it. You know? Stick to the issues. You know? You can get Kamala on policy. For crying out loud, she is the current vice president of the United States with Joe Biden. So if there are things that, obviously, there are things that you want to blame Biden for, you can attach it to Kamala, but you won't, and you're not, because of grievance. Again, Donald Trump, this is not 2016 anymore. You can't run the same campaign that you ran against Hillary, against Kamala. You can't do that. It's impossible. It's a different dynamic now. It's a different dynamic. It's the country's different in the last 8 years. You can't do it. So look, there's still 90 days to go before the election. So obviously a lot can happen between now and then. We've seen enough already happen in the last month and a half alone. But man, it feels like a sabotage to me. That's what it feels like to me. Anyway, let's switch it up here and talk about the Olympics a little bit. The Olympics are now close to being over. I mean, a couple of days, right? I think by Friday or Saturday to be over. U.S. is dominating, of course, with the medal count. I've watched much as I could. Look, I can't lock in and watch Olympics like I used to. That's what's going on. But I do catch much as I could catch a little bit of swimming, caught a lot of gymnastics. Obviously, basketball is my top of priority for me. I'm watching what I could, and it's been great. Obviously, seeing competition. I love sports. Obviously, this show is based foundations in sports anyway. But obviously, what's taking the sting out of it is all the controversies that's taking place throughout the Olympics. It started with the opening ceremony with the transgender or the drag or whatever we call it, the drag queens or whatever it may be, that were dressed up supposedly imitating the Last Supper, which supposedly wasn't the case, but now was the case. Now wasn't the case. I don't know. Was it right? Was it wrong? That's up to you to decide. Again, it's funny having seen Americans get a little pissed about it because something that's happening in France. If you have a problem with that, take it up with Paris, France. I can understand you getting pissed about it. It was here in America, but Paris, France is hosting the Olympics, and they have a totally different political system than we have here. So if you have a problem with that, take it up with Paris, France. You have that, and then of course you have the situation with the boxer who was rumored to be a male boxer boxing the female division, but was supposed to be male, but that's not true now. And this is mostly a testosterone issue and all that. She's really a female. She was born a female. Her passport's a female. The whole nine, and all the controversy around that. And it sucks. And I know politics is a part of our lives now. I mean, we have to accept that. But is everything political? Is everything political now? Seems to be. So I don't know. It's taking this thing. It's taking away the amazing performances we're seeing from Simone Biles and Kayla. Is it Kayla Ledecky? Look her name up real quick. But the swimmer who's been dominating the Olympics, and Simone Biles, of course, like I said, and the men's basketball team doing a phenomenal job. Kevin Durant dominating. It's taking a sting out of it. Am I enjoying it? I'm still enjoying it, and I'm good at pushing away the controversy and stuff, but it's still at the same time very, it's like no matter what we do, we can't unite as a world, as a country. I mean, because there's always something wrong. There's always something to bitch about, and it sucks. But it is what it is. All right, one last thing. We get the QOTWs. Skip Bayless, last day, FS1 was last week. And all people saying good riddance to Skip Bayless. Legacy, talking about his legacy, talking about how he's been a negative for sports media, and I understand that. I and a lot of it I do agree with, but he has made an impact. Let's just say that. I think it's safe to say he is the most hated man in sports media, and a lot of it's his fault because he would double down on takes, regardless of information changed, that were not, real, and he became more and more a caricature as the years went on. And we knew it was inevitable this was going to happen because as the ratings fell, Undisputed, Shannon Sharpe leaves Undisputed last year. Shannon Sharpe is thriving now in his own space, whereas Skip Bayless is virtually irrelevant now. Stephen A. Smith on his show last week said it as clear as possible when addressing Skip's legacy, and he was the most hated man in media. He had one of the best takes about this, and his take's important because outside of Shannon Sharpe, there's been no other person that in Skip's world that's had an impact in working with him than Stephen A. Smith with his time at ESPN. Here's his it's gonna be a little bit lengthy here, but here's Stephen A.'s take on Skip Bayless as he leads FS1.
In terms of being hated, I don't think Skip cares. Matter of fact, in some instances, I think he takes it as a badge of honor. But I'm going to tell you something that all of us should appreciate about Skip Bayless. One of the things that so many folks miss, especially in this day and age, and it's one of the things that I will openly confess pisses me the hell off. When elder statesmen talk about respecting your elders and stuff like that. You're talking about respecting people who paved the way, because you know something, if they didn't do it, not only would you not have known what to do, you might not have ever been able to do it. There's always pioneers. And when we look at the world of podcasting and sports talk and what have you, Skip Bayless is one of the pioneers. And let me tell you about something that I know for a fact better than anybody. So many people paid too much attention, wondering and lamenting what he said. The hating on LeBron James, the love affair with Tim Tebow, and his fixation on the Cowboys in a positive way, where I'm the troll and all of this other stuff. You know what you miss? If he didn't do what he did, how would we have been able to do what we do? Think about the subjects we tackled. Think about the matters we pontificated about. Think about the sensitive issues that were broadcast over the national airwaves. Think about how polarizing they were. Think about disenfranchised communities and other minorities within this country salivating for opportunities to have a voice and to make sure their voices were heard. Think about the things that people say and do now. If a white older guy like Skip Bayless wasn't willing to take the positions that he took while inviting people to sit opposite of him and challenge him on so many different issues, would debate television be what it is? See, a lot of times we get caught up in thinking about what that person's saying. Sometimes it's the platform they provide. Do you know that there isn't a week that goes by where there's something that I could say, but I know coming from me, it won't work?
He's right. The perspective is correct. And it could both things be right here. Skip Bayless could have been someone to provide enough space for people to come on, react, and give their piece, and I will say initially race debate was probably a positive thing for a little while. I mean, at the end of the day, people need to understand there's enough space in this world, in this content world, for people to eat. There's different kinds of media you can listen to. You can listen to debate media, you can listen to conversational media. Skip, own the lane of debate. The problem I have with Skip Bayless is that, wasn't that his takes were bad, is that his takes he never really evolved. The shtick stayed the same. In other words, LeBron is not this and that because this and that. He has no rings, and he gets a ring or 2 rings and 3 rings, 4 rings, and his take is still the same as it was in 2010 for LeBron James, for example. His take on Tim Tebow was ridiculous. I know you're a fan, but be objective. He was never objective enough when it mattered, and it got old. One reason why I like Nick Wright, and why Nick Wright does this better, and as reports come out now that with Skip being gone, they're looking to make Nick Wright the face of FS1, which I think is a good thing, because Nick Wright's unlike Skip Bayless, Nick Wright is a very sharp dude, knows what he's talking about. He has a little bit of the Skip in him, but the difference is there's a certain way of how he does it that comes up more authentic. He's not someone that doubles down on dumb takes for the sake of clicks. Yeah, he'll say something that makes a little out there. It makes a little bit of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But then he'll find a way to make it make sense. And if in the case, give an example of that, Nikola Jokic. There was not a guy who was more critical of Nikola Jokic than Nick Wright for years. Then when Nikola Jokic won his first title 2 years ago, he pivoted on new information. And it takes someone with less of an ego to do that. And unfortunately, Skip couldn't adjust. Nick Wright can. Nick Wright's younger. He's a little more with it. He's sharp. So if you can make him the face of your network, I'm okay with that. as a Skip in his future, what's gonna happen with him? Does Skip Bayless have a future left on mainstream media? I honestly don't know. Because you have ESPN has no interest in signing him, from what I understand. FS1, obviously, that's gone now. You obviously have other platforms out there. See, the thing is that you can always find a job. Skip Bayless still has a name value. It may not be as big as he was in 2014 or 2010, but there's still name value there. So I can still see him prop up somewhere else. People say he's retiring. I don't think he's retiring. I don't think Skip can retire. Skip doesn't have any grandkids or grandkids to that I know of anyway. This is his life. Doing this job is his life. He has said in the past that this job was more important than even his marriage. Which that's his opinion. That's his right to feel the way he feels. I mean, it's not something I would do, but that's how he feels. But I do think someone will probably make an offer. I can see a DraftKings, I can see a FanDuel, or any other platform make an offer. And don't forget, he still has his own podcast, which I'm assuming he owns the rights to as well. So you'll have that. I'm assuming he's going to continue doing that once a week. Maybe do it more now since he's off TV. I mean, I don't see him going away, especially now too, because football's on the corner, and I'm sure he wants to weigh in on the week at large on the NFL and college football and whatnot. So I'm actually fascinated by Skip Bayless' next move. I really am. And I think he'll be more. I think if anything, he will do more in the digital space rather. That's my prediction anyway. I'm not saying I don't have information, whatever it may be, with that, but I think he'll do more in the digital space. So there's that. And I get, like I said, I get people not like, everybody's reaction is good riddance and all that. You hate when people lose their jobs. Obviously, it's not something you want to praise. But I will say this much: his time was up. And once the stuff with him and Shannon went down, even before Shannon left, we knew that Skip was on borrowed time. The ratings were a disaster. They got worse and worse and worse. Even bringing in Michael Irvin, bringing in Paul Pierce, who you know how I feel about Paul Pierce, obviously. It just it was never getting better for Skip. And the bang, especially when you consider the money they're paying him too. Also on top of that, he's getting paid a shit ton of money. So, hope Skip does well wherever he does the next. I'll obviously, someone who follows media, I'll be checking on that. But yeah, I think him in the mainstream media space may be done. I think he will still have a place somewhere in the digital space. That's my prediction for Skip Bayless. Okay. Before we get out of here, I want to read off today's QOTWs. Not a lot of responses this week, actually, on the QOTWs question of the week. But the question of the week was actually, it was a follow-up from a topic of the last week on the podcast, the last solo podcast. Basically saying with training camp, NFL training camp in full swing, what's the most captivating storyline leading into the 2024 NFL season? So I'll read a couple of these interesting responses. Darryl Wilson says, can the Chiefs pull off the first Super Bowl three-peat? Yeah, I that was one of mine also too. I remember did my top 5 storylines, and that was one of my 5. Chiefs of the field. Again, I think I'll reiterate what I said on the last episode. It's going to be difficult to get out of the AFC. I think once they're out of the AFC, if they're healthy enough, they can get the job done. I think they're better than San Francisco, better than Philadelphia, the whole 9. I think KC did get better actually on roster. Did get better in this offseason too. Also, the problem is all the hurdles are in the conference. So if you get through the conference, I feel better about it. But if you're betting man, you're betting the field. But I did say 40% chance they repeat because again, who's their quarterback? Who is that dude? Patrick LaVon Mahomes II. I'll never put anything. I'll say this much: if the Chiefs repeat this year, that's Mahomes' 4th ring. I'm gonna go. He's a GOAT. He's a GOAT. If the Chiefs three-peat this year, that's 4 rings in 6 years. Patrick Mahomes is officially the GOAT. Now, obviously, he has to be the best player as a reason they do it. But if that happens, he's the GOAT. So I'll say that. All right. From my man, Mike Patton, he says, will the 49ers finally pull it off and win that elusive 6th title? Chances are good. Chances are very good. I do think Brock Purdy, obviously a big question there. You know, we hear reports now that Brandon Ayuk is about to be traded to either Cleveland or New England. That hurts them a little bit too, which means you need Brock Purdy to elevate as a quarterback. I still have questions about Brock Purdy as a quarterback for the future. Like he's a really good quarterback. He's done a good job so far, but we saw last year in stretches when he wasn't to have his full set of roster, his players, Trent Williams and McCaffrey and who's the other guy was out? Deebo Samuels. He shit the bed for 3 weeks. So there's questions there. The chances are good. NFC, like I said, they have the reverse Chiefs problem, whereas Chiefs have the conference deal with a tough AFC. The Niners have an easy NFC. So we'll see. I think their odds on them getting to the Super Bowl is still fairly decent. I think the only hurdle is really the Eagles in the NFC. We'll see if Detroit can sustain it last year. If Green Bay's on the up and up now, we'll see. Maybe even Dallas. Dallas. But getting to the Super Bowl should be less of an issue in comparison to Kansas City. But Brock Purdy, we'll see. I don't think they've gotten better also either. Yeah, and if they lose Ayuk, you can argue they've gotten worse. All right, 2 more here. Ryan Miller says the overall optics. Now that's a dig at me because I use the word optics. He heard it early in the show. Use the word optics. I love that word. Eagle fan Ryan Miller. But he'll be on the podcast, recording that podcast with him tonight. Actually, him and Big Jim will be on the show tonight. That's scheduled for tonight. We'll drop that tomorrow. One more here. Misty Cortez says the one where I choose my new team to root for. Not sure which process I'll be using this year, though. I'll get back to you when I have more details. She did tell me actually, though, in private about what the process she's going to use this year to picking her team to win a Super Bowl. She's been really bad about this, though. Every team she's picked so far that she's been doing this has not made a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. So there's that. But she did tell me that she's going to have her daughter, Rory, shout out to Dory, of course, pick by color, and they're going to make a decision on that soon. So they pick green, obviously Eagles, they pick blue, probably the Ravens, probably the Giants, hopefully, but the Giants have no shot. But yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for responding this week. A shorter, smaller amount of comments this week to answer. I know everybody's out in summer doing their own thing. So that will do it for this podcast. Again, dated August 6, 2024. I'm on X at EJ Christian 7. One more thing before I get out of here, guys. We're going to be starting most likely in the next couple weeks, maybe into the season, definitely doing live shows. Not every episode of the show will be live, but there will be some particular episodes of the show that will be live. We may test that as early as this week, actually, doing some live content on there, where we'll stream the show live, and you guys can comment on it as we're recording. Now the thing is, I would encourage you guys to subscribe to all my social media feeds: Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, X. Although X, I got to figure that out because you can't stream without having a certain account you have there. So we'll see how that goes. But we are planning on doing particular episodes to be live streamed on this feed, and if so, you guys will know. I'll announce that individually on social media. Definitely looking to do like the football related show, especially during the season. With my friends, our boy Degenerate Zach himself. We're looking to do our pick show, our best bets live on the show. Possibly Student Game Report with Kyle Nash as well as a live thing as well too, and particularly and selective shows we do going forward as we continue. So that's one of the newest features on the show we're going to try to do in the coming months, of course. But Other than that, we'll keep you updated on that. Other than that, I am out of here. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. And till next one. Later.
Thank you.